Jamila was born into a world where a girl's voice was meant to be quiet, her steps careful, and her obedience unquestionable. As the only daughter in a strict Hausa household, she had been taught from a young age that her role was different from her brothers. At 10, she was already waking up before dawn to fetch water while her brothers, Kabir and Sadiq, remained curled up in bed. By 11, she had learned to cook, scrubbing pots while her brothers played football outside. "A good girl listens," her mother often said as she handed her another task. "A good girl does not complain." Jamila never complained, even when her legs ached from standing too long. Even when her fingers burned from hot oil, she swallowed her exhaustion and obeyed. Now, at 16, nothing had changed. This particular evening, she stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of tuwo while her brothers lodged in the sitting room, watching a football match. Their laughter echoed through the house, carefree and loud. The smell of the simmering soup filled the air, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavier on Jamila's shoulders. "Jamila!" Her mother's voice cut through the air. "Where is the meat? You know your father doesn't eat tuwo without meat." Jamila quickly wiped her hands and rushed to the fridge, pulling out the meat she had forgotten to cook. "How could I forget?" she scolded herself, her heart racing. "I should do better than this." She walked twice as fast, ignoring the dull pain in her head from the long school day. When dinner was finally served, she barely had time to sit before her mother asked, "Have you ironed Kabir and Sadiq's uniforms for tomorrow?" Jamila's stomach clenched. She hadn't. "Not yet, Mama," she said softly, already rising from the table. Her father shot her a look of disapproval. "You should have done that earlier." "Yes, Baba," she whispered, her appetite disappearing. Her brothers barely looked up from their plates. It never occurred to them to iron their own uniforms. That was Jamila's job, just as it has always been. Later that night, when she lay on her bed, her body ached all over, but she couldn't cry. She couldn't be weak. She had to be good. She closed her eyes, preparing to do it all over again tomorrow. The next morning, Jamila barely had time to breathe. She woke up before dawn as usual, swept the compound, fetched water, and prepared breakfast. By the time she was done, her brothers were already dressed and ready for school. She, on the other hand, had to rush through everything, tying her hijab haphazardly, shoving her books into her bag and barely touching her food before running out the door. Aisha, her neighbor and best friend, was waiting outside. She took a look at Jamila's tired face and sighed. "You didn't sleep well again, did you?" "I'm fine," Jamila said, quickly adjusting her hijab. Aisha narrowed her eyes but didn't push. They walked in silence towards school. The streets buzzing with early morning life, hawkers selling kuse, the call of prayer still echoing in the distance. As soon as they reached school, Jamila's problems multiplied. "Jamila, I forgot to do my chemistry assignment. Let me copy yours," Halima, one of her classmates, said before she could even sit down. Jamila hesitated. She had spent hours making sure her own assignment was perfect, but she couldn't refuse. "Okay," she whispered, handing it over. Not long after, another classmate approached. "Jamila, Can you help me summarize this literature text? I don't understand it. Jamila's head ached. She had her own studies to focus on, but the fear of disappointing others gnawed at her. Of course, she said, forcing a smile. The requests didn't stop. Teachers expected her to help clean the classroom. Classmates pushed responsibilities onto her. Even senior students sent her on errands. By lunchtime, she was exhausted. Aisha pulled her aside. Jamila, you look like you are about to collapse. I'm fine, Jamila lied again. Aisha folded her arms. No, you are not. You never say no to anyone. Why do you let people walk all over you? Jamila looked away. I don't want to disappoint anyone. But you are disappointing yourself, Aisha snapped. When was the last time you did something for yourself? Jamila had no answer. That night, after a long day of school and chores, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Aisha's words echoing in her mind. When was the last time you did something for yourself? She didn't know, and for the first time, that thought terrified her. The days blurred together, each one pressing Jamila further into exhaustion. The weight of home and school crushed her, but she kept going. She had to. One afternoon, just as she packed up to go home, Yusuf, a senior student, blocked her path. Jamila, you are doing my biology project, he said, shoving a pile of papers into her hands. It's due in 3 days. Jamila's heart pounded. She already had schoolwork, house chores, and barely enough time to sleep. But you don't say no, Yusuf cut in with a smirk. Everyone knows that. His words stung, but she nodded, gripping the papers. That night, after cooking, washing, and ironing, she finally sat with Yusuf's project. But her hands shook, her vision blurred, and exhaustion made her head heavy. She didn't even realize when she fell asleep on the table. The next morning, her mother's voice jolted her awake. Jamila, you haven't made breakfast. Her heart raced as she jumped up. The sun was already up. She had overslept. She rushed to the kitchen, panic making her hands clumsy. She had just placed the pot on the stove when her father walked in frowning. You are late with breakfast, he said. And you didn't iron my white kaftan, he added. Jamila turned to her mother, who sighed. Jamila, you are becoming careless. Her brothers sat at the dining table, eating unconcerned. Something inside Jamila cracked. I'm not careless, she whispered. Her father looked at her sharply. What did you say? I said I'm not careless, she repeated louder this time. Tears burned her eyes. I do everything. I wake up first. I sleep last. I cook. I clean. I iron. I run errands. Her voice broke, and none of you even notice. Her mother's face hardened. Jamila, lower your voice. No, I'm tired. She turned to her brothers. Why don't you ever help? Why am I only the one working? Kabir shifted uncomfortably. But you are the girl. And so what? Her voice trembled. Does that mean I don't deserve rest? That I don't matter? Silence filled the room. Her father looked at her as if seeing something else for the first time. Her mother's expression softened. Jamila, her father began, but she shook her head. I have to go to school, she said, grabbing her bag. She couldn't be in that house any longer. As she stepped outside, the weight of her own words hit her. She had spoken back. She had stood up for herself. For the first time in her life, she had said no. Jamila walked to school in daze, her mind replaying the morning's events. She had shouted at her parents, she had questioned her brothers, she had spoken up, but instead of feeling relief, she felt exposed, vulnerable. What if she had gone too far? What if they were angry with her? Jamila, she looked up to see Aisha rushing towards her. What happened? You look shaken. Jamila hesitated before whispering. I finally told them how I feel. Aisha's eyes widened. You what? I snapped, Jamila admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I told them I was tired, that it wasn't fair, that I couldn't take it anymore. Aisha grabbed her hands. Jamila, that's good. You finally stood up for yourself. But what if I was wrong? Jamila's voice wavered. What if you weren't wrong? Aisha cut in. You were honest, and that's what matters. Jamila wanted to believe her, but she wasn't sure. At school, she barely had time to think before trouble found her again. Jamila, where is my project? Yusuf asked, towering over her. Jamila clenched her fists. She had spent all night working for others and received nothing in return. I didn't do it, she said. Yusuf frowned. Excuse me? I didn't do it, she repeated, louder this time. I'm not your servant. Murmurs rippled through the students nearby. Jamila, the girl who always said yes was refusing someone. Yusuf scoffed. You think you can just say no? Yes, Jamila said firmly, lifting her chin. I can, and I just did. Yusuf's mouth opened and closed, but he had no response. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her heart pounding. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just speaking, she was being heard. That afternoon, when she arrived home, she expected tension. Instead, her mother was waiting for her, eyes soft, with something Jamila rarely saw, remorse. Jamila, she said quietly, come sit. Hesitant, Jamila obeyed. Her father was there too, his expression unreadable. Her mother sighed. We didn't realize how much we put on you. Jamila blinked. Mama, we raised you to be obedient, but we never taught you that it's okay to have limits, her father admitted. That was our mistake. Tears welled in Jamila's eyes. So you are not angry? Her mother shook her head. No, my dear, we are sorry. A lump formed in Jamila's throat. She had spent years believing her voice didn't matter, and now, for the first time, she was being seen. That night, for the first time in forever, she slept peacefully. The next morning, Jamila woke up to something unfamiliar. Silence. No one had shaken her awake before dawn. No one had called her name in urgency. The air felt lighter, as if the weight on her chest had finally lifted. Cautiously, she stepped out of her room. In the kitchen, she found her brothers washing plates, their movements clumsy but determined. She blinked. Was she dreaming? Their mother stood by the stove, stirring a pot. She turned when she saw Jamila. Good morning, dear. Jamila hesitated. Mama, you are cooking? Her mother smiled. Yes, and you are going to sit down and eat before you leave for school. For a moment, Jamila didn't know what to say. She had fought so long, so hard, that she never imagined things could change. Tears burned her eyes, but she blinked them away. She wasn't used to kindness, to care, but maybe, just maybe, she could learn. At school, Jamila felt different, stronger. When Halima approached her, She braced herself. Jamila, can I? I wouldn't be doing your assignments anymore. Jamila interrupted before she could finish. Her voice was calm but firm. You need to do them yourself. Halima stared at her shocked, but Jamila didn't care. She was done pleasing people at the cost of herself. She turned and spotted Aisha near the school gate. Without thinking, she ran to her and pulled her into a tight hug. Aisha gasped. Jamila, what's this? Thank you, Jamila whispered, for always reminding me who I am, for not letting me lose myself completely. Aisha laughed. It's about time, my friend. She pulled away grinning. So what now? Jamila smiled, the first real smile in a long time. Now, I start living for myself. As she walked into school, for the first time in her life, she didn't feel small. She felt seen, and she knew, no matter what, she would never let herself disappear again. The moral of this story is, no one should feel pressured to sacrifice their happiness just to please others. Speaking up for yourself is not disrespectful, it is necessary. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It means you value yourself enough to set limits. Always remember, you first. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos on this channel. Thank you and stay blessed.